everybody. Okay, well, I'm going to get us started. Let me just start off by saying welcome to High Performing Teams and the 5 behaviors. As one of my mentors said, it takes teamwork to make the dream work, and that's what this program is about. How do we create high performing teams? Today, I'm going to be joined, I am joined by Samina Hooda, and Samina is going to be my co-host today. And just to give you some background, Samina has recently joined Rise Performance Group and joined me as a consulting partner. She comes as a leadership coach. She has 2 master's degrees, so she is clearly the smart one between the 2 of us. She's got 1 in applied technology and performance improvement and 1 in professional and executive coaching. She has spent the last 15 plus years in talent development initiatives and nonprofits, oil and gas, healthcare, and I have witnessed really firsthand her character and her competency. Samina was my client for 3 years, from 2014 to 2018, when she ran training and development for a Dallas-based healthcare firm that was ultimately acquired by Optum for $1 gazillion. But I'm honored to have her working with me. I know she'll add massive value to our community, and she's going to be playing a role in our webinar today. So welcome, Samina.
Thank you, Mark, and hello, everybody. I am really excited to be here with Mark, and we have been really working together to bring the best of our product here to benefit you all, and I'm really happy to be here. Thank you, Mark, for your kind introduction.
Excellent, excellent. So here's our agenda. So we're going to talk real quickly about the importance of teamwork. I doubt you'd be on the call if you didn't get the importance of teamwork. We're going to talk about the changing dynamics. Hello, COVID-19. We're going to talk about a proven model, the 5 behaviors. I assume a lot of you have heard of this model. I know I've got several of my coaching clients that are on here. We've been working through this model. We're going to focus on the first 3 of 5. We're going to go deep on building trust. We're going to touch on mastering conflict and gaining commitment. And then at the end, we're going to have an offer to allow you to go to the next step. Now, some of you are my coaching clients, and you know we've been working through this comprehensive team report, and you've got this at your disposal. And some of you are not my coaching clients, or I've done training work with y'all. Wiley has come out with a new personal development program, and that's really what Samina and I are going to be talking about, is the personal development program. But we'll explain more as we work our way through this. But I'm just super excited about this new development from my partner Wiley and the 5 behaviors team. Our purpose, Samina and I share a common purpose, and it's about helping people become better. So we're about helping people become more so that they can achieve more, so that ultimately they can give more. I feel like medium-sized, scale-up businesses are going to be the first responders of this economic recovery, and great companies don't make an impact without great people that are a part of great teams. It's all wrapped in 4 decisions, right? You got to get people right. You got to have the right people doing the right things right. And that's going to be our focus today. But as many of you also know, I focus in the areas of execution, strategy, and cash. But today's focus is going to be on this people side and really building high performing teams. I heard McKinsey say a couple months ago, and this just connected with me so well, that it's really no longer about cheap labor. It's about smart talent. And I love this chart here that shows that smart talent can have a 50 to 800 times bigger impact on your organization than cheap labor. And so what does this mean to us in this time? And I think you got to think of it like this. Disruptive technologies are accelerating the greatest pace of change that I believe has ever been experienced in history. And the frequency of these black swan events is happening in compressed time periods. It seems like we're just getting over 2008, and here we are dealing with coronavirus. And here's what I know. Here's what I know. I know that great leaders can't control and they can't predict where things are going. But I also know that great leaders can control and can predict the quality of the teams they build. And when they've got teams that are made up of the best and brightest and are put together in a framework that maximizes their ability to make things happen, then they can deal with challenges no matter where those challenges come from. And that's really what Pat Lencioni and his brilliance has put together in the 5 dysfunctions of a team model. And this was rolled out in '02. As many of you know, it was really designed for intact teams. So I'm a scaling up coach, and our scaling up methodology is built on, first and foremost, you have to have a cohesive leadership team. And this model worked fantastic. You've got the CEO, you've got members of their team, and every one of my clients we've worked on these 5 dysfunctions of a team. But we recently came out with a new version of the tool that allows us to teach it through all levels of the organization. And it's called the 5 Dysfunctions Personal Development. Wiley's rebranded it the 5 Behaviors, but it's built on the 5 Dysfunctions methodology. So the great thing is that we no longer have to have an intact team to drive an effective training and development program about helping your employees become better team members. And that's really what this 5 behaviors personal development is about, is giving us a framework that can scale down your entire organization. And we've developed a special development profile. It's a 23-page profile. I'm going to give you a sneak peek into a little bit of this. But more importantly, what Samina and I want to do on this call is help you take your level of understanding of this framework to the next level and start to apply it even more aggressively with your team to bring more cohesion as you look to achieve great things, emerge from the coronavirus, seize on the opportunities, or pivot if necessary so that you can move your organization forward. The new reality is that building teams is no longer about doing it face to face. I mean, we're doing it like we're doing it right here. A lot of my clients have been 100% virtual for the last, 6, I guess we're in week 6 now. And meetings are being done over Zoom, trainings are being done over Zoom. I've done multiple planning workshops with clients that we've done all over Zoom. So we're going to demonstrate some of the capabilities that Zoom brings and give you some things to think about as you take this meeting format into your organization. But I think the one thing that I'm hearing over and over again is, Mark, the genie's out of the bottle. And we see now that we can do things virtually that maybe before we thought could only be done in a classroom or a one-on-one environment. So building teams is no exception, and conducting training and workshops is no exception to that as well. Samina, why don't you take them through the 5 behaviors?
Sure. So, the 5 behaviors of a cohesive team, when Patrick Lencioni put this together, he talked about a human story. This is all about human emotions and how they show up in building relationships. So when you look at this pyramid, it's a progression of that language of humanity. So the foundation is always trust. And no matter what relationship you're talking about, personal or work related, if you don't have trust, then people are not honest, or they're scared to be genuinely themselves in front of each other. So when team members are really transparent and honest with one another, they actually are able to build vulnerability-based trust, where they have no barriers to interact with each other. One of my clients just, we were talking that they had a meeting, a virtual meeting, where they introduced their children to each other. They took a minute or so in the beginning, and everybody brought their children, and that was really an amazing way of building trust in virtual environment, as to break your barriers and showcase your human side of your personality. And so once you have trust, it allows you to have unfiltered engagement with each other. You're not scared to bring your ideas in the forefront, to have constructive debate, where the best ideas can be put forward without any hesitation. And when that happens, you have productive conflict that brings best ideas out there so that you can have solutions that may be not something that would have come in the forefront if you had not trust in the first place. And once you have productive conflict, everybody knows that they have been heard, really, that is a place of commitment where people know, okay, I had the opportunity to voice my opinion, I was acknowledged, and now there's a decision made that may not be exactly what I wanted, but now I'm going to commit to it because I feel invested in this whole process of communicating this idea and how to bring a solution together. So that commitment is where you will have your full engagement of your employees, where they will be providing their best abilities to manage that particular project or whatever that is. And once you have commitment, you know what? Accountability becomes easy because you will have not only accountability from each other, but also support from each other because now everybody is working towards a common goal. And so this is really a place where actual results come about. And again, top of the pyramid, all of this, all of these steps, trust, constructive conflict, commitment, accountability, will lead to really achievements of results and bringing the best business outcomes that you would like to bring it from your organization. And so, yeah, we will showcase some of the ideas, how you can build upon these pyramids in a minute.
Yeah, and really we're gonna focus a lot on trust, conflict, and commitment as we make our way through, because as a coach, as a scaling up coach, and I work with leadership teams, I really see this ability or inability to trust everybody and engage in this constructive debate in a way that's productive so that everybody leaves the meeting committed. That's the key here. We need to get rid of the meeting after the meeting. We need to move the meeting after the meeting into the meeting. And so I'm on like this major rampage to make this happen because I just see it rob organizations of so much potential. So we're gonna move into kind of break down these first three areas for you. We'll touch on the latter two, accountability and results. But Samina, talk about vulnerability-based trust here real quick.
You know, it is one of the hardest things for all of us to do, right? We don't want to look vulnerable in front of other people. It might be something that we may think is a strength, but really it builds barriers when people don't see the humanity in you or the human aspect of your life or your personality. So trust is all about, breaking those barriers and being vulnerable, a willingness to be completely vulnerable with one another, to let down your guards, to admit our flaws. We all have many of those. We are not perfect, but at the same time, be able to ask for help. And that is genuinely bringing people together in an empathetic relationship to help each other and make the best out of the situation.
Yeah, I mean, conventional wisdom is that, we need to be all knowing, especially those of us that are leaders, and by gosh, never let them see a sweat. These are things that we've been taught over the years. And so many times what I see are these guards that are up that really minimize the ability to really get at the truth of what we need to do to make the team grow. And so when we've got trust on a team, we've listed kind of 4 things here that you can be looking for as you go back to your meetings. And it's in your meetings that you're most going to see this show up, when you've got your team together or when you're participating in a team meeting. But are people being guarded? We talk about being unfiltered. Now this is the ability, if we've got a concern, we speak it. We're not afraid to speak up. And if we disagree, we voice those concerns. I participated in my son's college class, and somebody asked me a question, and she said, "Mr. Fenner, I heard there's only one time that you can call your boss wrong." Or she actually said 3 examples, and ones are unethical, immoral, or I can't remember what the third one. And I said, I could not disagree more. As a team member, we need that feedback. If you think we're wrong and we're going in the wrong direction, you're more likely closer to the problem, closer to the opportunity. Let's bring it up in the meeting. Let's talk about it and make sure we address that concern. So being unguarded, being genuine with one another, apologizing. If you make a mistake, gosh, this is just maddening to me. It's so common to blame other people, blame situations. I mean, take ownership for it. If you screwed up, tell them you screwed up. It's okay. And this takes, by the way, the leader making it okay. It's one thing for me to say it, but as a leaders, we got to make this okay and build this culture where it's okay to make mistakes and be open about our weaknesses and the mistakes we make. Give one another the benefit of the doubt. Don't immediately assume the worst. And I don't see this as much as the first two, but I see it enough. And then asking one another for help and input regarding your areas of responsibility. You know, a team is only a team if you have a shared goal. And while somebody may be accountable to an outcome like sales or operations or finance, everybody on that team is responsible for helping to make that result happen. It's no different than a sports team. You know, it's not all on the quarterback. If the line's not blocking, the receivers aren't running their routes, they can't do their job. And there's times that we got to pick each other up. Somebody's maybe not doing as well, and we've got to pick each other up. Now, in the personal development profile, I decided to go personal with you. Actually, Samina encouraged me to go personal with you. I just love how we kind of break some of this out, because even though I've been teaching this for a long time, as I read it and I study it, I'm reminded of the areas that I need to be sensitive to, areas where other people are sensitive to, and areas where I naturally gain trust. And so this section comes right, this is tailored to me. Mark, what makes it easy for you to build trust? And if you know me very well, you're probably not surprised. It's about being in a social atmosphere. It's working with people who share my tendency to be direct and straightforward, so on and so forth. You can read those on the screen there. And the reason that that's true is because we tend to trust people who are like us, and we tend to distrust people who are not like us. So a big function of gaining trust is first connecting around common ground. So as I recognize what are the environments where I'm most comfortable, that can help me realize where, okay, so that's why I've been successful in this area, and maybe why I'm not being successful in this area. And when I took this, when I went through this profile, it pointed out to me that these are some areas where I may be challenged, right? Where I fear loss of control. You know, that's just part of my wiring. And I look back on that and I can see examples of where that's shown up personally, where I don't want to lose influence. You know, I do like to lead, and that helps me in some areas, but it works against me in others. Concern about appearing weak, you know, fear of disapproval. Now, these are things that might hold me back and do hold me back. When I goof up, when I make a mistake, when I leave the meeting and I'm like, dang, Mark, you know, what happened? I can come back and see it rooted in these issues here. But what also helps me to know is what might be holding others back. And so this gives me some insight into what others that are around me and others that are in my teams and different clients I work with, what might be holding them back. And I've worked hard on this over the years. I know that there's a certain segment of my clients that are brilliant, but they don't want to look incompetent. So my job is to make them look good in the meetings, because I want to pull their ideas out. Their ideas are sometimes they're the best ideas in the meeting. But as a leader, if we don't create the space to build the trust for them to feel comfortable to open up, then we're going to be robbed of that opportunity to grab their perspective. I know there's other people that listen super well, but they don't want to be a burden. They feel like, if I speak up, is it really important? I don't really want to pull the team down. Surely that person up there talking's got all the answers, but no, they've got great answers. So we've got to create the space for them to feel comfortable, and we've got to encourage them to insert themselves into the team so that we can grab those great ideas. You know, Google did a survey back in 2010. It was called Project Oxygen, or Project Aristotle, excuse me, Project Aristotle. And you can Google it, ironically enough. But it was a study of what makes the best performing teams. And I won't bore you with all the details, but the punchline, it wasn't the teams with the smartest people. It wasn't the team with the strongest leader. it was the teams where everybody contributed equally. They called it conversational turn taking. So even though there's certain personalities that are more comfortable at the front of the room or talking or dominating the conversation, remember the great ideas are often coming from those that aren't as comfortable. So as leaders, we need to understand that so that we can draw them out and get the most out of them.
Okay, so Mark just shared with you his personal development profile. And Mark, I appreciate that you did. That's your vulnerable side, and that builds trust. And I know you've done very well with building trust with our clients. But here is an opportunity for all of you all to provide your feedback. You know, research by Wiley has shown that the 4 most common reasons people hold back from being vulnerable are fear of being a burden, fear of disapproval, fear of a loss of control, or fear of appearing incompetent. So what we will do now, we will provide you with a poll that we would like to see in your experience. You know, what is the top reason that people hold back from being vulnerable? What have you experienced in you know, the people around you? So just pick one that shows up again and again, and we will share the results with you. Go ahead.
Yeah, the votes are coming in, Samina.
All right.
Yeah, we've got, you know, this is really just a way to see who's paying attention. We've got 40 people on the webinar. We're getting up. We got 25 of you that had voted, 27. I'm going to hold it open for 45 seconds. So we're at 27. Hopefully there's a couple others of you out there. 31. All right, I'm going to end the poll. Hopefully you got your vote in. We got 33 of you to vote. And then here's the results.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so look at that. It's interesting that fear of loss of control to me is so low on that. That's a common one that I see a lot. I do agree with the fear of being incompetent is a big one. I mean, we don't want to look stupid. We don't want to look like we've got a bad idea. And those of you that lead teams know there's no bad idea. If we don't get the ideas flowing, they just shrink up on us. Some not wanting to be a burden, fear of disapproval. What a great list.
That was really amazing because, you know, in the end, when you realize that the same idea that you were supposed to talk about and you hesitated, somebody else brings it up and you're like, oh my God, I thought about it and I didn't speak up. So all ideas are good ideas. It's just about us not thinking that, you know, we might not be aligned. So what we will do now is really, I saw some of the comments that they're liking this poll, this interaction. Some of them are making, asking how do you do that? So what we will also showcase that, you know, how in Zoom, you can still, not Zoom or any other platform, we'd like to bring some interaction also. We will do another activity where you will be, you know, in your own groups. We'll put you in your rooms. Mark will do that in a second, where in groups of 4 or 5, you will be in your own groups. What we would suggest you do that you will quickly have an introduction. You introduce yourselves, as well as talk about what was your vote all about. And once you do that, then share your experiences and how those barriers show up around you. Like, you know, we talked about the fear of being fear of disapproval, fear of loss of control, or fear of appearing incompetent. So you will have around 5 to 7 minutes in your own group to discuss this, and then you will come back in the big group and we will continue on with the outcomes.
Yeah, Samina, you're not going to believe it, but we don't have the breakout rooms as one of our options showing up here. So
no?
something must have messed up. But let me tell the group this. And many of you have been on the phone lately with my workshops, but this breakout function in Zoom is really powerful. And what we were hoping to demonstrate is that we could put you in the breakouts, but this is a webinar, not our total, you know, Zoom has 2 kinds of meetings. They have a webinar, which is what this is, and then they have regular meetings. In the regular meetings, you can put people into the breakouts, and I apologize. Both Samina and I thought it was available in the webinar feature, but either I didn't enable it or it's not showing up, but somehow we goofed that up. But what I'd love to hear in chat, Deborah, thanks for the comment about polling, but where have you seen this show up in your
Yeah.
workplace. Any comments that you have that you could share there, we'd love to see. And you're going to see at the end, we're going to have an offer we're going to do a virtual workshop, a half-day virtual workshop. And in that workshop, it's not going to be Samina and I talking like we're doing here, but we'll use those virtual workouts to really drive that collaboration
Right.
when we move into that format. Okay, so let's move to the next section. Samina, what do you think?
Sure. There's some comments coming in, so we can read some of them a little later. Deborah is saying that I see that all the time and feel it myself. You're sitting in a meeting and get an idea. And I believe that you don't talk about it and somebody else picks it up, or it's forever left alone, and maybe that might have been a great idea. So Tony is saying none of our crazy smart people want to be thought incompetent. We all make mistakes and learn from them. Absolutely, Mark. This is something that we were hoping that we would length. This is such a barrier to all of us, and we feel that we need to be perfect, but we are not. So
Yeah,
we need each other to fulfill the gaps that we may have. So
yeah, excellent. Thank you, Tony, for sharing. Thanks, Deborah, for sharing. Cameron, thanks for being on. Hopefully we'll get a chance to catch up soon. So let me leave you with some best practices of what I see in the work that I do and Samina sees in the work that she does. Is how can we be intentional about creating vulnerability-based trust? And the important thing to remember, there's kind of two types of trust. There's predictive trust and there's vulnerability-based trust. So predictive trust is I do what I say I'm going to do. I said I was going to hold this webinar at 2 o'clock. I'm here holding it. I'm fulfilling a promise I made. And that trust is critical as well. But when it comes to building cohesive teams, we're talking about vulnerability-based trust. It's the opposite of being prideful. It's being approachable. It's being human, as Samina talked about. So how can we be intentional? Well, as a leader, one of my favorite exercises, and this is a Patrick Lencioni exercise, so you can Google personal histories. I love the personal histories format. And I know many of you on the phone have sat with me through dinners or other environments where we've done the personal histories. But it starts with, where are you born? How many kids were in your family? Where were you in the mix? And what's one thing from your childhood that really had an impact on your career today? In that simple little exercise, I just cannot tell you how impactful that has been. In fact, if any of you have been through those with me and would be comfortable sharing what that exercise has done for you in the chat window, I know the others would love to hear it. But just take your team to lunch or encourage your boss to take the team to lunch. And instead of talking about coronavirus, talk about this and learn something about your teammates. It helps you connect and find out that they're not the evil monster in the other department, that we're all the same. We're all humans. We've got so much we share in common. It just breaks those barriers around. Number two, as a leader, acknowledge that you don't have all the answers. We don't have to have all the answers. And it's okay to say, I don't know. I need help. I need you as a team. That we need to work together to solve this problem. And I think never has this been more relevant than this coronavirus episode that we're going through, because anybody that tells you they've got all the answers clearly does not have it figured out. Number three, use a tool like DISC, D-I-S-C, to learn other people's tendencies. And this is a personality tool. Samina's expert in it. We've got numerous tools that are rooted in this, but it just helps you understand. That's why when I went through that first part of my profile, I've learned, I know where my problems are. I know where I need to be sensitive. I also know where other people's tendencies are. So I know where I need to really flex myself to go to connect with them, to create space for them to feel comfortable. And then during meetings, and meetings is where your leadership is on display. It's where you build your teams. My favorite process, start with good news, personal, professional, whether it's a team meeting or one-on-one. It's just a great habit. Give me My latest question I've been working on lately that's working really good is I'll kick off my coaching calls with, give me a personal, professional high or low in the last week or since the last time we talked. It's just a great way to connect on a human level before we get into the business. And I just can't overemphasize how important that is. Focus on how you can help. So master the art of creating goals that people aspire to achieve for themselves or for the team, and then come alongside as somebody to help. My second favorite question after the personal, professional, high or low is how can I help you today? What can I do to add value? Right? And listen, as a leader, and I'm teaching this to my clients that are running one-on-ones, and it's just creating breakthroughs. When people know you're there to help, it just breaks down the walls, right? You get the human side of them. You understand they really are aligned with your mission and your goals, but they need help and support from you as a leader to help them overcome the barriers, which, by the way, is the fun part of being a leader. Use conversational turn taking. I talked about that a minute ago. If you're running an hour meeting, just commit to not speaking more than 15 minutes and having your team speak the rest. Go around the room. Give them prepared questions so that they can be prepared. The ones that are more introverted want to know what they need to say so they can prepare for the meeting. So give them that opportunity, and then go around the room. The more you do that, the more comfortable people get speaking up. I remember one time I had a client, her name was Rolanda. She said, Mark, if I only speak 10 minutes and then we go around the room, my meetings are going to last about 11 minutes. And I chuckled and I said, Rolanda, give it a shot. Please give it a shot. And I came back a month later, I ran into her in the hall. I said, hey, Rolanda, how are those meetings going? She goes, oh my God, I had no idea how much my team had to offer. She goes, we're solving problems faster. The team's working better together, and I don't have to prepare so much for the meetings. So a lot of reason there. And then, allow the team to contribute to the solution. It's hard for them to argue with that which they create. I mean, if they're a part of the solution, they'll make it happen. And then if you're a team member, apologize. Don't be afraid to apologize. We've talked about that. Create space for others. If you're going into another department, create space. Don't overwhelm them. Don't minimize the power of connecting. How are you? Simple question. How are you doing? How are things at home? Before you jump into your issue or whatever it is that you need to meet with them on. And then this last piece of advice from the great Stephen Covey, such timeless wisdom: seek first to understand before being understood. Samina, we've talked a lot about trust.
Yes.
Conflict.
Absolutely. So once, we put effort in our teams and ourselves to build trust, conflict, it's such a misnomer. Conflict is, somehow has negative connotations to conflict, but in this model, actually conflict has a very positive connotation because it becomes nothing more than the pursuit of truth. It's all about finding the best possible answer or best possible solution from everybody's experiences and wisdom and intelligence, as well as their learning. So constructive, productive conflict is the next step after you have built trust. And it's organic. It's not that you have to end one thing to start the next. It all works in tandem as you walk along this pyramid. So
trust is a little hard. You can see trust, but man, you can really see conflict or the lack thereof. And this is a leader, to me, is the test. Do we really have the trust? And there's two things I'll get to, but here's what it looks like. Are people voicing their opinions? Are they being heard? Are they seeking out their teammates' opinions during the meetings? Are they confronting and dealing with the most important and most difficult issues? And are they exploring everybody's ideas to uncover the best solutions? Or is it all just one way? And what we're looking for with conflict is kind of this ideal conflict point. Now, I'll tell you what I see most often is this over here to the left, this artificial harmony. Everybody sits in the meeting and they say, no problem, no problem, no problem. And as soon as the meeting's over, there's these huddles, there's these meetings after the meeting. I talked about it earlier. And in the meeting after the meeting, they're saying, boy, what a dumb idea. Don't they realize we tried that 3 years ago and it didn't work? This person's not bought in. And they have this whole discussion afterwards that just derails everything that was done in the meeting. So the key is we need to have the meeting in the meeting, not after the meeting, in the meeting. If we meet after the meeting, it's how do we get this going faster? How do we add value? How do we work together? Not retesting the decision that was made. That's the key part of this model. So what I see is a lot of artificial harmony. But on the other side is this really awful, ugly, mean-spirited attacks. And it's usually attacks about the person. So you can hear them. I was in a meeting yesterday and we had these mean-spirited attacks about a person and started attacking people. And the attack should not be about the people. It should be about the decisions, about the problem, about solutions, about how we as a team can make progress. So as a leader, you can be listening for that. So productive conflict it's everybody speaking up, but it's speaking up productively about the issues. Now, here's the challenge. There's a certain segment of those of us that are on the phone that are scared to death that the conflict is going to turn into this. And we've been in meetings, and I'll tell you, it's a risk. It's a risk that it's going to go to this. It's a risk. But don't let the fear of it getting out of hand keep you from entering into it. That's what you need to be doing as a leader, is learning how to manage that conflict. Now, you say, but Mark, I have a lot of this going on, a lot of artificial harmony going on in my meetings. You need to mine for that conflict. And what I mean by mining for the conflict is reading the body language and saying, Samina, do you have something to say here? Or here's my introverted teammate. Do you have something to say? Or if I see somebody crossing their arms, do you have a concern with what we're doing here? And when they say, no, I think I'm fine, and you know they're really not fine, you say, I don't think you're fine. Tell us what your concern is. Getting those things out on the table is critical if you want to get to that next segment of commitment. But before we get there, let's talk about healthy versus unhealthy behaviors. Because all of us are wired, and this is a very general list, but I see these show up. So the healthy behaviors is the same person. I'm going to have Samina talk about the healthy. I'm going to talk about the unhealthy. But these are tendencies within the same personality type. So Samina, I'll let you hit the first one.
Absolutely. You know, in order for us to create healthy environment, if you have the ability to speak about your problems, or your team members are openly doing that, if you can express your feelings, you can listen to each other's perspective. These are healthy behaviors, and as Mark said, it requires intentionality from the leader's part as well as from the team members' part. And hence, personal development assessment brings you that awareness. And the last one is really, really important, because I feel that many of us get into this, this realm where we are not focusing on the logic or objectivity of a situation, but personalize the issue to ourselves. It becomes my idea versus their idea, or I am subjective to my own and married to my own idea that I cannot even think beyond it. And that creates a lot of conflict within ourselves and within the team. So creating an objective approach and looking at the problem from a bigger perspective rather than my own can really be very fruitful if we bring that to our self-awareness as a team.
Yeah, and as I'm sure all of you have experienced, that same person that's willing to speak up can also overpower and get aggressive.
Right.
Right? Have you not seen it in your meetings? That same person that expresses their feelings, which is good, can then become overly dramatic. Right? Have you not experienced that one? Or the same person that listens to others' perspectives, but then we can't get them to speak up. But boy, if you can get this is typically the hidden gem in your team right here, is this person, the great listener who doesn't speak up. That's your hidden gem in your team. Or the person that, as Samina said, focuses on logic and objectivity. That's fantastic, right? But then they become passive aggressive if it doesn't go their way. And so if we have the if we have that in place, great vulnerability-based trust, great constructive, productive conflict, then it sets us up for the next layer, which is, Samina.
Which is commitment. So I know we are breezing through this fast, but again, this is a process, and we all have to be committed to allow this process to take hold and support it in all our honesty. But again, if we have constructive conflict, majority of us and all of us are accountable to what we are saying and bring the best foot forward, then we will actively commit to a team decision or a group decision that was reached after everybody was heard. There was constructive debate. Everybody had the opportunity to voice their opinions and ask their questions and understand the rationale behind a decision too. If you're not getting it, do ask the question, why this and why not that? And position yourself at a place of understanding if you don't. And so in that engagement, in that space of conflict, you have an amazing opportunity as a leader, as well as a team member, to bring forth all your ideas and perspectives so that when you leave the room, as Mark's saying, you are not leaving with half an idea baked in my head and I was not able to speak about it. Now I'm going to stand in the corridor and speak about it. But you're really leaving. And even if you don't get time in the meeting for any reason, go get that. Go and set up another time or have a huddle with your team members to say, what about this, that, the other. You have it within your reach to bring your ideas forward, even if their 1 hour meeting might not have given you that. And once you do that, then you have a sense of commitment. Research says most of the workforce just wants to be acknowledged and heard. If that's the opportunity you've given, and as human beings, we want to be heard. You have given the opportunity, we will invest in that solution, even if it was not mine, and we will commit to it and work towards it.
So great synopsis, Samina. And like trust is kind of hard to see. You can see the conflict. To me, commitment is the close, right? Commitment is the close. So being clear about the team's overall direction and priorities. So this means pausing and saying, okay, what decisions have we made? What priorities have we committed to? It's just a great practice to get in, to stop periodically and draw to a close and say, what decisions have we made? Because if we don't have clarity, even through all that constructive conflict, people can get lost, right? And what am I really arguing for? What are we really trying to accomplish here? So what is the decision? And then do we have buy-in? So ending discussions with clear and specific resolutions. Who's going to do what? We have a tool called the Who, What, When. We use online tools where you can put your commitments of what you're going to get done by when. Never leave a meeting without clarity around who's going to do what by when. Then you leave the meeting confident that everyone is committed to the decisions. Now, lately, I've been playing with the new question. I actually have somebody on the phone that was with me yesterday, and I ended with this question. And the question, I had 2 questions, actually. Number 1 was, how would you rate the quality of the plan on a scale of 1 to 10? So we spent a half a day planning. At the end, how would you rate the quality of the plan? It was a great way to get feedback on where they had clarity and where they didn't have clarity. And then the second question was, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your commitment to making this plan happen? And you might say, well, Mark, that's a dumb question. Who's not going to rate that a 10? You'd be surprised. And the second thing is this, they're verbally acknowledging that I'm committed to the plan. It's a great way to close it and seal it off. We're done debating. We're done. Let's move forward now and go execute the plan. Right. And when you've got that commitment, then it gives you the ability now to have accountability. But we want to do one more poll before we wrap up with accountability and results. And that's an activity called Go Get It or Get Over It. And so I'm going to throw up some questions on here. And here's the first one. And so when I say go get it, I mean, if you're a part of that team, do you go get the answer, or is it time to just buy in and get over it and move forward? So here's the question. Suppose the decision was made in the team before most of your teammates had a chance to weigh in. Should you go get it? Should you get that resolved, or do you just need to get over it and move forward? What do you think the answer to that question should be? Wow, look at the votes coming in. Appreciate the promptness here on this one. And I'm going to give us just a little bit less time here just because, okay, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. We got a big chunk of us, but 92% of you said you need to go get it. And that's right. If you don't feel like everybody had a chance to weigh in, then you know what's going to happen. We're going to have the meeting after the meeting, and we're going to have the whole debate afterwards. So we want the debate to happen in the meeting. We don't want the meeting after the meeting. We want the meeting in the meeting. So great job. Okay, so my second question that I've got for you here. Suppose, it should be on your screen. Suppose your concern is that even though we had all the debate, even though we went around and closed the meeting with clear commitments, even though you said you were committed, you're still concerned because the team did not take your idea. They went another direction. Do you need to go get it, or do you need to get over it? The votes are coming in. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Yeah, we got a great group here. Great group. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, you need to get over it. I mean, if your ideas, and those of you that work with me in the planning up or the scaling up planning methodology, you know, every 90 days we meet. And when the decisions we commit to for 90 days, we got to commit to those decisions. And at the end of 90 days, then we can open it up for debate. If it was a bad idea, then we'll revisit it. But as a teammate, you've got to learn to trust. And I say learn because it takes time and it's not easy, but you got to learn to trust the collective wisdom of the team. And sometimes your ideas aren't going to get taken. And so we got to trust that the team made the best decision. I'm going to do everything in my power to go make it happen. Okay, I'm going to give you one more poll and then I'm done polling you. But this is a good one. So suppose your team is beginning the initiative. So we made the decision and we're starting to begin the initiative, but you're not sure who is actually responsible for moving this project forward. Do you need to go get that, or do you just need to get over it and get to work? Oh boy. Yeah, this one is unanimous. Yeah, that's right. You need to go get it. You all need to go get it. So fantastic. Because again, if you don't know who's accountable and who's the person in charge, then go get it. And remember, I teach there's accountability. That's the person who's responsible to raise their hand if the project's off track or bring it up in the meeting that we got a problem here. One person has to own that. But everybody on the team should be responsible for making it happen. And you need to know who that one person is accountable so that you can make sure that you're helping them with the information they need to properly account for the progress on the project. So great job. So let's cover the last two real quick. Samina, you want to talk real quick about embracing accountability?
Yes, and so once you have commitment, it gives the team members the courage to hold one another accountable, knowing that they are asking their peers to live up to something they have already fully agreed to do. And that's the beauty about it. As Mark said, you know, in the end, it's all about moving the needle. And if it's not moving, then the business outcomes are not coming through. And so this place is really very powerful when accountabilities are in place and things are moving forward and results are being brought forward. So
that's right. And when we have accountability, then we can get results. Yeah. At the beginning of this year, as many of my clients were preparing for their annual planning, I went out and conducted SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. I was amazed. The SWOT analysis exercises we did were predominantly frontline employees and frontline or middle managers. And in every single one of them that I did, the people, the employees, the direct employees, and the frontline managers brought up lack of accountability is one of the major weaknesses of the organization. And these are good companies. These are well-run organizations. My point is that your people are crying out for this accountability. And we can only have the accountability if we create the clarity and the buy-in that comes by having the spirited debate and building a team based on high trust. And when you get all of that in place, then you can focus on the results, and the results count. So let's recap what we've learned. And I see we've got one question in Q&A. So go ahead and post if you're thinking I've got some questions here for Mark and Samina. Get those into the Q&A. But we've talked about the importance of teamwork, the changing dynamics that are coming with this virtual environment now, putting even more pressure on our ability to build high-performing teams. And then we talked about this proven model, the 5 behaviors of a cohesive team. So what's left? Well, as Samina said, there's a difference between knowing and doing. You know, building great teams is like a practice. It's like a yoga practice or a golf practice. You don't go to a golf lesson and all of a sudden you're a great golfer. You don't go to one yoga studio session and all of a sudden you're great at yoga. You keep practicing over and over and over again, and building high-performing teams is no different. So at a minimum, take what you've learned here and go apply something. Write down, what can I apply out of what I learned here? What's 1 or 2 things? You may have taken a page of notes. Write down 1 or 2 things that you're committed to doing as a result, and go try it. Purchase the book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. If you haven't read it, if you've already got it, reread it. I read the thing about every 6 months. I've got it on Audible too. It's great to listen to. It's an easy read. Then if you haven't done so, take the 5 behaviors personal development assessment. So we'll give you a link in our follow-up email, and we'd love to have you take that with us. If you're one of my clients and you've already done the team development, then go back and dust this thing off and say, let me look at what Mark was talking about. What's that next area that our team needs to work on? Is it trust? Is it productive conflict? Is it commitment? Where do we need to focus, and what can I do, whether you're the leader or whether you're a part of the team? And many of you on the call are part of one team, and then you lead another team. So think, in my roles, what can I do to continue to move forward our advancement of being a very high-performing, cohesive team? And then Samina and I are going to do a virtual 5 behaviors personal development program over Zoom, and we're going to do it on May 6th from 9 to 12. So if you liked what you learned here, we'd love to have you on that program, and we're gonna do a special. I'm going to tell you about it in a minute, but it's 3 hours of facilitated instruction, and we're going to leave you with an action plan. So we'll actually leave with action items around each of the 5 behaviors. So you'll walk out with a personalized action plan. It will also include the personal development report. So that program is priced for $395. We wanted to do it today for half off of $195, and then Samina and I were talking yesterday, and she said, Mark, I think we should do it for free. I said, well, we've got a cost of the report, so we decided to do it for $120. That's the cost of the personal report. Now, if you're already a part of a leadership team that I'm coaching, call me afterwards and we'll talk about what makes sense for you here. But if not, it's $120. Now, let me tell you how we're going to do that. We're going to do $120 for the first 20 people who sign up. So it will include the report. It will include a 3-hour facilitated workshop like this, except the breakout rooms will work. Trust me, I'll have that fixed because we'll use a different platform. But the breakout rooms will work, and it'll be very interactive. It'll be hands-on, and you'll come out of it with a personalized plan, you know, working with other members of your team or other members of the cohort. And so I'd encourage you to bring your whole team, you know, bring everybody on your team. I mean, sign you all up, and you all can participate, and we can work through this. So it's going to be the 6th. There's a promo code. Here's the website. You can go to riseperformancegroup.com, go to the events section, and go to virtual 5 behaviors. We're going to send an email out afterwards. It'll have a link to this, and then enter promo code 5B, 5 behaviors of a cohesive team. So 5BCT _ VIP. And we'd love to have you signed up and love to have you a part of it. So questions. And maybe while questions are coming in, Samina, if you have any closing thoughts for the group?
No, I think in these times, not that it was not important before, but we are really, engaging with our families. Our work environment has changed, and it's not going to be any going back to normality anytime soon, even if we open up and we are, working in a more open environment. This personal development is such a place of liberation. I feel that when I looked at mine and Mark looked at his, it was just like, oh my God, now I know why I behave in certain ways. And this is proven in the field, where when you have self-awareness, it gives you empowerment. You build empathy for others, and you have empowerment because you understand your behaviors, and then you are self-aware to really modify where you need to modify so that you can have productive engagement in relationships. So not only in work environment, but also in your personal life, because you are you anywhere you go. And once you start understanding your own, your own behaviors and how you react, you are really emotionally intelligent then to manage your relationships as well as your emotions in a more productive way. So, overall, this is such a great tool to have in the back of your pocket. And so I would really suggest, yeah.
Excellent. And Dan, you brought up Fierce Conversations. Could not agree more. Fantastic book. Great. Crucial Conversations is another one. I mean, there's nothing more important than your ability to work through people. And the quality of your relationships is in direct proportion to the quality of your conversations. How effective can you be as you communicate? And so our goal through this and through all the work we do, again, is to help you become more so you can achieve more, right? And it takes more than just you if you want to go anywhere. Doing it alone. John Maxwell taught me, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, build a team. Mm-hmm. And so it's really that simple. So yeah, I totally agree on Fierce Conversations. Great tool. And then Noel would love to circle back with you and connect. So reach out to me. I've got contact information for myself and Samina on the slides here, and would love to connect. Let's see, any other questions? Open questions. Oh, come on. It's got to be a couple more questions. Okay. Mm-hmm. Listen, I hope you'll take advantage and come join us in our workshop. We've we're doing our best to make it really easy to get involved, and would love to have you. Wish you all well, and we're moving to the other side, so it's time to start saying, okay, what opportunities are out there? Where do we need to pivot? Where do we need to persevere? And do I have the right team around me? And are they ready to go get it? And so we love it, and would love to be a part of helping you however we can. So until next time, you guys have a great day.
Thank you, everybody. See you soon. Bye.